Hall of Famer Thurman Thomas. And do want to pass along a quick practice update to you. Keon Coleman not practicing for a second straight day, so we'll see where that goes. Working on the side with strength and conditioning coaches, so looks like it may come down to Friday before we get a final designation on his availability for Sunday's game. Amari Cooper, Curtis Samuel practicing on a limited basis, much like they were last week. Hopefully they're closer to a return, but we'll have to wait and see on that. Good news is Christian Benford, full participant yesterday. Hopefully that's the case today, so he's back in the defensive lineup. Thurm, we were a little surprised to see that the Bills have not won in Indianapolis since 1998. They've lost their last 6 trips out there, most of that during the drought era, of course. But their last trip there was in 2018. Josh gets injured the week before in Houston. Yeah. Derek Anderson is the quarterback in his first start for the Bills off the couch. Wow. Threw 3 interceptions. Shady gets hurt in the game, doesn't finish. 2 carries for 1 yard, and they lose 37-5.
I don't even remember that.
I kind of forgot it myself, and I think on purpose.
Right.
2018 was the only losing season under McDermott,
sure.
6-10, and if you remember, that was when they had an offensive line that was going nowhere fast.
And I'm sure that was Josh's first year, right?
And he was hurt, out injured because he hurt his elbow the week before.
Talking about remembering that, I'm sure Bills fans right now are listening to us, calling their friends, telling them to tune in for that little nugget. Yeah, they're talking about 2018 when the Bills got 30. They're talking about the drought years. Tune in, it's great.
Yeah, they got curb stomped.
I mean, we had our own conversation about it. It's like that was our wheelhouse, man. We lived right in that spot where you got a really good player, Shady, sweet, 2 carries, 1 yard, out.
Yep.
Out.
Not good.
Yeah. You said Rob Johnson falls on the point of the ball, boom, between the ribs.
Well, that was in '98. That was the last win.
Quarterback slips on a mat, boom, concussion, out.
Yeah.
Never played.
That started back in '88, really, if you really want to go back far.
88.
Last game of the season, we playing the Colts. We beat them. We get the number 1 seed. Cincinnati gets it.
Cincinnati.
Finish the year 12-4.
Chip Lowmiller doinks it off the upright against whoever they were, Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Chips it in overtime.
Yep.
Doinks it off the upright in overtime.
Mm-hmm.
Washington loses to Cincinnati. Cincinnati has the identical record to us.
Yep.
They win the tiebreaker or whatever, or they have the better record because of that.
Mm-hmm.
And we lose the next day to Indianapolis because we had already decided, they weren't going to. We lose the number 1 seed. We go to Cincinnati in the '88 AFC Championship instead of them coming here.
Yeah.
And that's.
Oh, yeah.
Then that's what kept us from going to 5 out of 7 Super Bowls instead of 4 in a row.
The history. And they playing an elite quarterback, too, so. Joe Flacco. And you know what? I mean, looking at this schedule, I'm thinking Anthony Richardson is going to be the quarterback. So you kind of chalk it up as, okay, I think we can win that game.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how he's going to be or whatever, but now that it's Flacco, you just never know now.
All right, so we've talked about this a little bit. Maybe explain how Buffalo's defensive preparation changes, because the Indy run game is dramatically different with Richardson not in the lineup. There's no more read option.
There's no read option.
Joe ain't running with the ball anywhere. So how does that change the preparation for Buffalo's defense facing Jonathan Taylor without Anthony Richardson?
Yeah, I think that's advantage Buffalo. I really do, because now you're at a situation like with Aaron Rodgers. He can't move around the pocket, and neither can Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
So, but the obvious thing is to stop Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
But there's going to be a lot of instances where you can get out there and get after the quarterback and make him move around. So I think going into this game, the front 4, front 7, whoever, they're going to be very important. Now, do we put pressure on them? Do we blitz? We haven't really done a lot this year.
Right. Well, they haven't. To Coach McDermott's point earlier this week, their first and second down defense last week was not very good.
Right.
So there weren't a lot of pass rush situations.
Yeah.
Miami was not very often in 3rd and 7 or 3rd and 8.
You look at it, Miami played really well against the Bills last week.
They did.
That turnover right after halftime that Taryn popped out and the Bills turned it into a touchdown was, the difference in the game. I mean, they were dead even right down to the last minute, and it took a 61-yarder to beat them. They played really well offensively, Miami did.
Yeah,
they're going to give people problems.
Yeah, they did. They might not make the playoffs, but they're going to give people
They're
problems.
They're going to give people problems
down the road.
If McDaniel can keep those guys focused, they're going to be good.
But
they're going to be fine.
I go back to it, and I told a couple of players this or whatever, and I told Josh it the other night. I'm like, when we were running the football and right all the way down to the 11-yard line when he threw the pick, the next play to Keon, we were running the football. And I looked at Josh, I was like, what made y'all change? Why did you stop doing that? He was like, yeah, well, just something that just kind of happened, he felt like they had to play.
The play was there.
The play was there.
The play
was there. But but my standpoint is, we're running the ball. We're running it very well.
Yeah.
And we take it all the way in from the 11 on 3 consecutive runs. They're over there in Miami going like, they just beat us now. It's a different mindset now that they got the interception.
Well, like he says all the time, if the opponent can't stop the run, they are powerless. Because
they can't do anything.
They can't do anything.
You can't get bigger and stronger all of a sudden.
Right.
That's the whole thing.
Yeah, you can't go. You can go to the sideline and lift some weights, but it ain't going to help,
right? I get that too.
Yeah.
But the problem is, anytime you do anything, particularly that play to Keon, that is a crusher.
Yeah.
Because that turned into 7 points the other way.
Yeah.
Now you can
Josh
say,
threw a heater.
yes,
that was a heater.
He had too much pepper on it, but
yeah, he did.
But you got to catch it. I mean, Keon will tell you.
And
that.
then he has a catcher. But then having a veteran Jaylen Ramsey right there. I mean, you got to
throw it hard.
You have a younger corner right there who might be smaller because he is a big individual and his body is not as close when they hit like that. A little guy could have bounced off of Keon. I mean, but Jaylen Ramsey hit Keon and knocked him off his stride.
Yeah.
So it's wow. I mean, that was a great play. I ain't going to sit up there and
I'll say this though, as well as I do. Keon pulls that in on the first try. It's a touchdown.
Yeah,
period.
no doubt.
Yeah, he beat him on the route.
And then he beat him.
Yeah.
And
but you say it was a bullet.
yeah,
It was humming.
but that's whatever.
Hey, that's over with now,
Yeah.
right?
They still won the game.
They still won the
I'm good
game.
with it.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
good with
You
that.
know.
That's
And I'll say this too, Keon. He came out of that game not in one piece, but when the clips I've seen online now from the media was covering, he was out there doing stuff on the side. He didn't have a wrap on, didn't have anything on his wrist.
right.
Nothing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we'll have to see
I don't know
where
what
it
that
goes.
tells us.
Final injury report will be tomorrow.
Running game, baby.
We do want to take a phone call because we got a Bills fan who's actually. Okay, so I'll just relay what's going on here, Thurm, knowing you can't hear the guy. It's Bill in South Carolina. What do you got for us, Bill?
Yeah, so we're going to the game this weekend, and I did a Google search on Bills bars in Indy, and I found a couple, but they're like 45 minutes from downtown, from the stadium. So I didn't know if you guys had recommendations, or you could even do that. On the radio.
I mean, what I would do, Bill, is I would probably look up the contact people, which you can for the Bills backers chapters. I think there's one in Carmel, Indiana.
Go on social
And
media.
there's another one in Indiana as well, and they have contact emails, and they may, with the Bills coming to town, be setting something up in Indianapolis downtown proper. I would reach out to them via email if you can get a hold of them. You can usually go to buffalobills.com and go to the Bills backers page and look them up, and they have contact info, usually emails. And you can email them to see if they have an answer for you. I mean, it's a very walkable downtown. There's dozens of restaurants and bars. But, yeah, you want to find your people. I get it. So that would be my recommendation to you. I would just look.
Thanks.
You could even Google search Bills Backers Indianapolis, which you may have done already. But there's a page on buffalobills.com where you can find it.
I'm sure you can go anywhere and find it. I mean, come on. They just took over Seattle 2 weeks ago, and the Indies are shorter trip. So
you just pass somebody on the street and say, "Where's everybody going?"
Where all the Bills fans are? Yeah, they over there in lot 2.
Yeah, just put it out on your own social media outlet too. Just go out and ask and see what people are doing. Sooner or later, you'll get a hit. Somebody.
Because you know what?
Reach out.
There's a lot of people going to this
These fans know that this is an important game. They know that this is an important game. I mean, and hey, I don't know.
And it's a beautiful stadium. You don't have to worry about weather.
Right.
You're sitting inside.
Yeah, it's it's Detroit, kind of.
Yeah, similar thing.
Similar thing. So yeah, I they're going to travel well. But like I say, it's going to be a tough game. But I think the defense really has to come through again. Really start to crank this thing up as we going into these last 6 or 7 weeks against some tough football teams, and I think that's going to be really key for them. getting healthier. You know, the more we win, the better the chances of Matt Milano coming back. You know, it gets to that point, and we haven't even talked about him. So, and you know, after being out a year and a half, you don't know. I mean, it's probably going to be some rust somewhere.
Yeah, he needs
but
a few
you know
games.
what? Yeah, he needs a couple of games too. But this last stretch that we have, man, is very, very important to what we can accomplish and what we can get done.
We've talked about this, Thurman, between Brownie and I at the top of the show. The Bills have this Indianapolis game, and you know you got to win it. You want to keep winning. You want to keep pace, and at least be within shouting distance of the 1 seed, right?
Right.
But after this Colts game, you got Kansas City, San Francisco, the Rams, and Detroit.
That's playoff teams
man,
all from
playoff
last year.
That's where, I mean, basically your playoff season can start
Next week.
next week.
Right.
I mean, and that's the way you have to look at it. That's the only way I would be able to look at it. I mean, those are some tough teams right there.
And the San Fran and Detroit games are going to be physical games.
Physical games.
Those are teams that beat on you, you know?
Yeah, and
you got to dish it
hopefully-
out.
Yeah, and hopefully, you know, I think McCaffrey's coming back this weekend for the 49ers. So, you know, that'll be exciting for me, like to see like the top running back in the National Football League coming here and having a chance to watch him perform because I've never seen it like in person.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I've never seen him in person play a football game. So it'll be like nice to see how he warms up, how he goes through everything before the game starts. So, but this.
Are you fanboying Christian McCaffrey right
He
now?
likes running backs. Come on.
Golly.
Man.
Have you ever
Give it a
seen him
rest.
meet a running back he didn't like?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's
man.
right.
Man, I went and got everybody, all the running backs, jerseys, everything now. I'm going running back here on out, baby. I may work 17 or whatever or 40, but from here on out, man, I'm sticking with my running backs, man. They're playing well. They're catching the football. They're running the football very, very well. This offensive line is doing a great job. So, man, I'm
will say
sticking
you're
with them.
right.
And I don't even care about the rankings of other teams that in their defensive stats. I just think that we got two solid running backs who are maybe not performing as well as Gibbs and Montgomery, but they're right there.
Yeah.
So
They are right there.
Right. The general consensus on the Colts is you cannot run up the middle on these guys because you got Grover Stewart and DeForest Buckner in the middle there.
Who say we can't do that?
Well, I'm just saying nobody really has,
Nobody has,
to this
okay.
point. They give up a lot of yards, but not up the middle.
Right.
It's like a no-go. So when you have to run to the edges, what does that look like, knowing you're trying to avoid the A-gap?
Well, you're trying to get the big boys to move their feet.
Yeah.
That's basically what you're trying to do,
Okay.
and maybe try to they're so good inside. You know, the cutback lane might not even be there. I mean, you might have to stretch it all the way out to the wide receiver. You just don't know. But if you can get those big guys moving and putting them in a position easy to block, the cutback lane will be there. I
Okay.
guarantee you that will happen. And hey, look, not every play is going to be perfect for them. I mean, we got some shifty running backs that can make a guy miss, which Eli Pitts used to always say, whether that guy is a defensive lineman or whether that guy is a linebacker, always make one guy miss. And I think with these two guys, they can do that. Now, Ray does it differently than Cook does, but Ray may not be looking for somebody to miss. He may be looking for somebody to just run over.
Yeah.
Because he falls forward and he's strong, and I got a chance to see him up close in his pads at the game. And I'm like, yeah.
He's
He-
packed
He's
out.
221, yeah.
221, yeah, low center of gravity.
I told
and then
like-
you throw Cook in there.
Yeah.
I'm just loving what I'm seeing right
Yeah,
now.
post count. He runs. Made the analogy. He's like a bowling ball covered in butcher knives.
Yeah.
You know, he's hard to get a handle on.
Yeah.
And guys are kind of coming in, kind of protecting themselves rather than trying to make the tackle sometimes on Ray. It is true though that this team, more so than we've seen them in years past, when Dayball was the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Man, they hand it off.
They hand it off.
They hand it off.
Yeah. And, even with this, maybe this is the opportunity now where, where you don't have to really stretch a play. Maybe you can run a counter or two where you're having guys pulling and just take one guy out and hopefully the other guy falls right beside him. So counter play, maybe it's going to almost take like perfect blocking because those guys get off the ball and can interrupt, can knock the tackle off or knock the guard off coming the crowd. So, but I think misdirection, those guys, you got to really watch that.
Yeah,
I'm
with you.
Yeah, their offense is having trouble scoring points, Indy, and part of it's due to the state of flux at the quarterback position.
Yeah.
They've not scored over 20 points in a month, so points have really been tough to come by for them. So a fast start would go a long way
Yes.
to putting this team down early because they are not a come
Right.
from behind team.
Yeah. I mean, you say that, and no, I'm thinking 10-0 first quarter, 14-0 first quarter. That's the type of start
Yeah.
that I think we need because Flacco is not. He may end up throwing it 50 times, but no, he's probably only going to complete 20. Yeah.
Well, I don't know about that, but yeah, you're right. I mean,
I
here's
don't
the
know.
thing.
If our pass rush is going,
They haven't scored more than 2 touchdowns in any of these last 4 games, and which is why they made the quarterback change. And then Flacco playing against Minnesota didn't do much better.
Right.
So they, the first half of that game there were 5 turnovers, and they fumbled an exchange between him and Jonathan Taylor. He threw a pick. So the thing about Joe Flacco is he's different than a lot of the modern. He's different than Josh. He's different than Lamar. He's different than all these guys, even Joe Burrow. Because he does not move. He's like Dan Fouts. He's like one of those old like Marino. They drop back. You know where they're going to be. And I don't know that that's a really effective way to play quarterback in the NFL anymore. Because teams they'll just send an extra guy and the guy.
want you to
Well,
move
Brady's the only guy that showed you could still win that way.
Right.
But he got it out in 2.2 seconds.
So they just send an extra guy, and if you don't dodge it, you're going down.
you're going down.
And I think and he's going to be 40 in a couple months.
he can still throw
40
it.
He's still
already. He
slinging.
can still throw it, but he's
He can
probably
sling
40, feeling 40 already.
He can sling it, not as good as he once did, but he moves worse than he ever did.
Yeah.
So I think you got to formulate your defensive game plan a little bit differently these days. You can kind of run some exotic stunts
Yeah.
and some stuff to try and get some guys loose on him because he's not going to be able to outrun anybody out of the pocket or, not even – I mean, I don't even know if he's as good as Rodgers is right now. Eluding it.
I'll take Flacco over Rodgers any day.
Will you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Listen, he can sling.
Rodgers
I
just
mean,
he can't throw the ball anymore. Seriously, he can't put it on point anymore because of that Achilles. He's not putting a lot of power. His ball. I've
I
seen
see what
more
you mean.
balls not spinning right from Aaron Rodgers than I have from Flacco.
right.
Everything is wobbly now for Aaron Rodgers, even going downfield.
Yeah.
Where he's showing off the strength of his arm. Flacco's diming it.
He can. I've said a lot when he was in his prime. I don't know that there's anybody who threw it. He was like Aaron. He was like Ben Roethlisberger. It was like those guys that stand back there and they can just, with the right touch, with the right velocity,
Yeah.
with the right timing, they just put it out there.
He don't have to worry about elements or anything.
He's won. I mean, everybody knows he won a Super Bowl and he was good. He bet on himself in that year in a contract
he
year.
did,
Went out
and
and
got
was
it.
MVP and won the Super Bowl. And was the highest paid player in the National Football League.
That's when he became elite.
And he's still got a little of that in him. That's really the question mark about this whole game for me.
Yeah, and
How much does he have in the tank?
Yeah.
And can it be enough to beat this Bills team?
yeah, and also too, when I'm sitting up here, we're talking about all these running backs. I mean, what happened the last time we played Jonathan Taylor?
He had 5 touchdowns and 185 yards rushing.
4 rushing touchdowns.
running-
one
I'm
receiving.
just sitting up here thinking, I'm going like, wait a
Running
minute,
about
am I
3
missing
different run
something?
plays.
Yeah. It just
Ran
popped
it to
up
the
in
left.
my mind, and
Ran
that
it
was
to the
here,
right.
right?
That was the last time the Bills have
That was
been
here.
beaten.
That was here.
That was the last time the Bills have been beaten by more than a possession up until the Baltimore Ravens did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know. I can remember that game because I wasn't even here for that game, and I just kind of saw what happened, and I was like, oh,
Dude,
thank
it
God.
was
Frank was coaching.
excruciating.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like,
That's
oh,
when
boy,
Frank
I'm
was
glad I
coaching.
didn't go to that game
Yeah.
right there. So
It was excruciating.
And after the game, Frank was like, we basically ran 3 run plays
Yeah.
the whole second half.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Ran it to the left, ran it to the right, and then ran something else.
and I mean that's something that we've done fairly well. Fairly well. I mean,
What are we
just
talking about, run
besides
defense?
run defense.
Wasn't great last week.
Wasn't great last week. I mean, but you're trying to chase down guys that weigh 180 and 185 and
Run 4-3.
and run 4-3. So I mean, surprised
Yeah.
a couple of more guys didn't
I'll
pull
say, this,
hamstrings.
I'll say it again. Miami's offense is real.
Legit.
It's real.
Yeah.
And they played like it. So the Bills, they scored 27 points on this team. And it's not too many teams that have done that this year.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. And
I
we're back at the
they're
number
playing
2
good
seed.
defense.
We're back at the number 2 seed.
That's right.
That's good.
So the Bills have been off to a 7-2 start or better 10 times in their history. The last 6 times they've gotten off to a start this good, they've made it to the AFC title game the last 6 times, including 2020. So I'll just throw this out there, Thurm. If let's just say that streak continues and they get to the AFC title game, who would you anticipate they are playing in the AFC title game?
In the AFC title game?
Let's say history continues to form here for the Bills because they've made it to the AFC title game each of the last 6 times. They've started 7-2 or better, including 2020.
Yeah. I say it's Kansas City.
Okay. I figured
I say
you
it's
would.
Kansas City. Yeah, oh, no doubt. Yeah, I think it's Kansas City.
Yeah.
That's
It's hard to argue.
That was an easy one. It's
hard to argue.
They're 8-0. I don't know if you're 9-0. You know,
Yeah,
if you heard.
and then you think about like Kansas City. I mean, this run that they're on. I mean, we haven't seen anything like this since, I guess, the Patriots.
I was showing
Patriots.
Brownie.
They won 3 in 4 years.
On third. Mahomes. Here's one of the reasons Kansas City is playing as well as they are. On third and 3 yards to go or more. 3rd and 3 or more.
Yeah.
Mahomes has got a success rate of 58-point-something%.
Conversion
on 3rd and 3 plus.
Yeah.
Nobody else.
Yeah.
Nobody
number
else
one
is
in the
above,
league in
nobody
third
else
down
is above
conversion.
38%.
Yeah.
You can't get him off the field.
Yeah. They're number 1 in third down conversions by a mile.
Yeah.
Like by a mile. I'll see if I can find it. But
If they'll shatter every third down conversion record in the league history if they continue where they're at right now.
I mean, but
it's amazing.
You know, I watch the Bills, and I ain't gonna say. I mean, I watch Kansas City because they're Kansas City, right? You know, and I want to see what they're doing. But Kelsey's running all over the place, open all the time. I just all the time he's running open all the time, and you know their defense is playing well. They just make plays. That's all they do. They make plays consistently.
You almost get the feeling that Mahomes and Kelsey have this thing where they both know the offense so much.
They played together for
Kelsey's going to say, listen, if they come out in this defense, I'm going to the dead spot over here. If they come out and I'll run the route, but if they do this, I'm just getting over here.
I'm going to the open spot.
And Mahomes just, he didn't even think about him. If they do something, it's all like what are they doing? Oh, forget it. Where's Kelsey? There he is.
But they also know pre-snap when to make like a little adjustment. Like he'll tell Kelsey before he comes out of the huddle, hey, if they give us this alignment again and I'm pointing to you, I want you to just widen a foot. Just widen your split just 1 foot. And that's enough of a space for him to stick a ball in there. So he's like, Kels, what I told you. And then he'll widen out before the snap. And then turn around, sit down. There's 10 yards.
Do that thing. Yeah.
And the thing that really like frustrates me, I mean, he's just coming off the line of scrimmage. Nobody's even touching him.
Yeah.
I mean,
nobody collisions in
nobody
the line.
collision right at off the line of scrimmage. I'm like, he's getting a 4. I mean, looking at this entire thing, nobody has touched him. But you know what? That's Andy Reid, man. That's been our problem.
So their third down conversion percentage, which leads the league right now, 53.2%. That's what they're converting on third down. The Bills hovered around 50% the last 2 years and led the league in third down conversions each of the last 2 years. This is even higher than that. Now, we're only halfway through the season, but if they stay there, I think that'll be pretty close to a league record for third down conversion rate.
It has to be.
53%. I mean, that's
a lot. I mean, that's...
You're patting yourself on the back when you do that in one game.
Yeah, and you're talking about
the whole season.
Yeah, and you're talking about all the success that New England had. We haven't even looked at what their percentage rate was on third down. So they were pretty.
A lot of times they didn't even get to third down.
Right. The thing about that 2007 Patriots team, they've got the biggest point differential through 8 or 9 games in league history. Yeah. I mean, you look at the bar graph.
They were crushing.
They're clear on the left at the top, and everybody else comes down from that. It's, I think they were, what were they, like plus?
Okay, so here I got New England in 2007. Third down conversion rate, 48.2.
48.
So they're pacing 5% ahead of that right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's scary.
I mean, they got a good squad. I mean, they got, they got a great squad. And so, I mean, pretty much from here on out, it's going to be us in Kansas City. Yeah. I mean, that's going to be the hurdle that we have to get over.
Baltimore's in there, though, too, because they're a problem.
Yeah,
We'll
Baltimore
see.
kinda
Lamar's
messed me
different
up.
in the playoffs, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's different. They had the #1 seed last week. Kansas City went down there and beat them. So I'm not like, you know what?
Yeah.
I'll give Buffalo more chances than I will Baltimore.
Because Josh in the playoffs, his
Josh in the
level of
playoffs
play
is-
goes
it
up.
goes up.
Lamar's goes down. At
Yeah.
least historically, that's been the case.
That's been the case.
Thurm, good to see you as always. Thanks for popping in. We appreciate it.